Welcome back to the Workforce Workshop. In this episode, we will be discussing staffing plan. The workforce is the most valuable asset of most companies, but despite its importance, many businesses still fail to create an optimized roadmap for their organizations. Insufficient awareness about staffing needs and skill gaps can disrupt the business and prevent the company from achieving its goals in a timely manner. That's why creating a solid staffing plan is essential to ensure that any unforeseen events from a personnel perspective will create minimal to no disruptions. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. A company's human resource department is often in charge of creating a staffing plan. According to HR professional organizations, SHRM, a staffing plan is one of the top wish lists among HR executives, but it's also one of the most difficult to execute. While HR professionals are known for their people-driven tasks such as managing conflicts, they are also responsible for many process and policy-driven tasks that impact the overall management of a company. In this episode, we will learn how to develop a staffing plan and why creating one is important to every company. What is a staffing plan? A staffing plan is a strategic process that reviews and identifies the manpower needs of an organization, also called workforce planning. A staffing plan takes into account present and future business needs and provides a clear roadmap so an organization can carry on with its daily operation without any disruption or productivity loss. The extent of your staffing plan depends on how big your organization is. Large companies often require more complex staffing plan that matches people profile, market trends, and skills with the company business needs. A staffing plan not only covers regular employees, but it also takes into account temporary workers, advisors, and consultants to meet seasonal demands. Let's examine the different types of staffing plans. This is a proactive approach of workforce planning that takes into account your company's talent needs over the next 12 months at least. When identifying long-term staffing needs, consider your company's turnover history, future retirements, and underperforming employees. Once you have the necessary data, you can create a staffing projection that considers factors such as reassignment opportunities, promotions, and seasonal gaps. Short-term planning. Staff planning on a short-term basis foresees on what your company's immediate needs are. Are you expecting an increase in demand in the next few months? Perhaps hiring contingent workforce labor is needed to address the temporary gaps. A contingent workforce refers to workers hired by an organization or on on-demand ad hoc basis. If your company is working on projects that need extra hand or have seasonal demands that need to be met, hiring contingent workers may be a viable solution. Succession planning. Succession planning is more than just outlining the employee's promotional path. It is an integral part of talent management that ensures that an organization has the right people in place when an expected change occurs. It anticipates people's movements such as retirement, while making sure that your top talents are rewarded as well. While full-performing employees already possess the skills needed in their next roles, they would still need mentoring and training. In a foolproof succession plan must take these into account as well. Strategic staffing. Combining long-term and short-term succession plans results in strategic staffing models. This focuses on the company's business plans to ensure that all targets and metrics are met from a staffing perspective. Once the business leaders have outlined growth targets, the HR team can better determine how many and what type of employees are needed to meet set goals. Now, how to develop staffing plan. An organization's HR department is often in charge of creating a staffing plan, but managers across all departments must also be involved in the process. A solid staffing plan must consider market trends, future people movements, and budget constraints to help an organization work towards its goals without disruption. Here are the main steps when creating a disaster-proof staffing plan. Identify your goals. The primary step in creating a staffing plan is determining your goals. These can range from broad targets to more specific goals. What are your company's short-term strategic and tactical objectives? Are you planning to offer new products that need additional support? Do you need extra workforce to man a new location? Asking these types of questions will help you create a better staffing plan. This step is also a perfect opportunity to collaborate with other leaders within your organization. Are there departments that require reinforcements over the next year? What type of support does a division see over short term? Answers to these questions are often part of a company's strategic plan. Keep in mind that the department's objective must align with the goals of the wider company. Assess the company people's landscape. In some cases, the best talents are those you already have. Hence, creating an effective staffing plan requires a thorough understanding of your current people landscape. Factors that you need to consider when looking at your people landscape include the number of your workers, staff distribution, employees' age and tenure, skills, high performers, low performers, risk employees. All these data must be considered into a single platform to get accurate assessment and ease the process. Aside from capturing and analyzing these technical details, it is also important to know the pulse of your employees regarding their own performance. One effective way to do this is by conducting anonymous surveys or questionnaires. Feedback from these surveys can help you understand how employees perceive their own performance, as well as insights into their career development plans. Here are some common performance assessment templates. Employee review feedback on a staff member performance from their colleagues, management performance, employees assessment on the corporate management team, department performance, assessment on a team professionalism, communication among teammates, skill level, and client relationship, among others. Once you have all the information, you can use a variety of technology-based tools to help you centralize and interpret your data collection, analyze market trends. A solid staffing plan must also take into account external influences. In the US, for example, large companies regularly check on the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics to get better understanding of the employment situation, such as unemployment rate, labor cost, and job opening. Market trends at a local level should also be included in your analysis. You can consult business organizations, industry groups, and local-based chamber of commerce to get an idea of the external factors that could influence talent supply and demand. Another area to look at is industry competition. There are external influencers that could be positive or negative factor that a company conducting the assessment has little to no control over. Personnel forecast. Once you have assessed your existing people landscape, the next step is to make a projection of your future staffing requirement. Few things to consider are forecast turnover rates, business goals, anticipated mergers and acquisitions, economic situations, and product launches, among others. Here are the common methods used when conducting a personnel forecast. Trend analysis. This method relies on historical data, typically at least 5 years or older, to project staffing requirement. Important trends to look at the retirement patterns, hiring rates, promotions and transfers, demographics, years of service, skills, and turnover rates. When conducting trends analysis, keep in mind that a larger sample size yields a more accurate result. Ratio analysis. This process identifies the future personnel demand by determining the ratio between a certain business factors and the number of employees needed. This is particularly helpful if you want to identify growth-driven staffing requirement. Ratio analysis is also beneficial to startup companies who do not have in-depth historical data that they can use to project future staffing needs. Conduct a gap analysis. A gap analysis is important when you want to know how to develop a staffing plan. To do this, compare your existing people landscape with your personnel forecast to identify the gaps from there. Ask yourself these questions. What are the goals of your employees and where are they now? Answers to these questions will help your company map out the skills and manpower that are lacking and identify the steps needed to address them. It is important to view gaps not as weaknesses, but opportunities to achieve your company's growth targets from a staffing perspective in a more efficient way. Analyzing your staff skills is also a key part of a gap analysis. Take inventory what your current workforce provides and compare their expertise in every skill to the level of expertise that your company requires to achieve its goals. A gap analysis is an essential part of creating a staffing plan, as it helps your company understand your staff skill level and experiences, as well as develop strategies to address areas that need to be improved. Review and repeat. After identifying your business goals, analyzing trends, projecting future personnel needs, and conducting a gap analysis, this is where you transfer your data and analysis into an actionable plan. This should summarize the assessment and trends captured in the previous steps that the necessary departments and business leaders can consider in their decision-making process. A solid staffing plan must also include recommendations to adapt corporate training programs and improve employee skills. It should also include succession policies to simplify transitions once an employee is promoted, resigns, or retires. Developing a staffing plan is not a task exclusive to a company's HR department. The HR department should therefore coordinate with all applicable business leaders, divisions, and departments when crafting a plan to account for everyone's needs and goals. Ideally, a staffing plan must be reviewed annually to take into account external and internal changes. So if we ask ourselves why a staffing plan is important, well, because it improves recruitment. Having a staffing plan helps a company attract the right pool of talents. It ensures that the hired applicants possess the skills, background, and traits that the company needs to fulfill its business needs. Hiring managers can also generate some level of consistency when making their hiring decision based on the staffing plan. It prevents company or business from hiring candidates who do not align with their short or long-term goals. It can also be a basis when writing a job description, scheduling the interview, and outlining the onboarding process. Additionally, a staffing plan helps a company improve recruitment strategies. Once you have identified your company's objectives, existing people landscape, and skill gaps, you can use more specific approach when reaching out the potential hires. For example, you can tie up with a staffing agency or a university to make sure that you hire the right talents. Enhance succession planning. Another key benefit of having a staffing plan in place is making sure that your company is prepared once an employee leaves. A staffing plan helps you identify your best performing candidates who you can groom for higher positions. This allows you to avoid or minimize disruption and ensure business continuity. It also makes sure that your company has capable leaders in the pipeline in case of unexpected changes. Employment retention. A staffing plan not only helps a company attract the right talent, but also make sure that the right employees are retained. Mapping out personnel forecast and market trends during your staffing plan will enable you to evaluate what should be done to keep and reward the employees that meet your job requirements. Many employees identify training and career development as key factors that they look for in a company. A staffing plan can create recommendations for training programs that suit your employees' current needs, which can then help your company improve employment retention. The other thing is budget. Most companies rely on the staffing plan during the budget cycle to allocate costs. Therefore, having this plan will enable you to determine and execute long-term strategies for the type of employees needed to meet the company's goals. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. In the next one, we shall talk about statement of work. Links to everything will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe. It will help us produce great content for our professional audience. Let us know if there's something you would like us to talk about in the next episode. Please just click the link in the show notes and you can submit your questions directly to me. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.